we're gonna start. Yeah, we'll go through the process right now. By the way, Mr. Sedna, you are a lucky man to do that every day, and we just became better people by listening to them today. So thank you very much. Congratulations. So welcome everybody to the Laredo ISD Board of Trustees regular board meeting Thursday, May 11, 2023, 5:30 p.m. at the Yeary Boardroom, 2400 San Bernardo. Veronica?
Honorable board members.
I'm sorry, let me go through roll call first.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. Gill.
Yes, sir. Mr. Juan Ramirez,
Present.
Mr. Rodolfo Morales,
Present.
Ms. Veronica Orduño,
Present.
Mr. Ricardo Garza,
Present.
Mr. Goyo M. Lopez,
Here.
Gilberto Martinez, I am present, Mrs. Monica Garcia.
She'll be absent today. I will be conducting the meeting today. Veronica?
Good evening, honorable board members and Dr. Rios. Tonight, LISD is honored to salute two gentlemen who served their country in the United States Navy. Here is a video tribute prepared by Instructional Television on the service and sacrifice given by Alan Jackson and his brother, Glenn Jackson. Lights, please.
Tonight, Laredo ISD has the pleasure of honoring two brothers who are both veterans of the United States Navy. Glenn and Alan Jackson served our country during the Vietnam War. Alan Jackson served from 1967 to 1968. He tells us about that service.
We got called up during the Vietnam conflict. I was drafted and I quickly joined the Navy and served on USS Washoe County. It's a landing ship, LST 1165. Home ported in Yokosuka, Japan, and we'd serve a month there and then 3 months down in Vietnam and back and forth. The whole 2 years that I was there. So we were there for that period during the conflict. And then much to my surprise, one day, our brother shows up on board.
Glenn Jackson served in the Navy from 1968 until 1970. He talks to us about how he ended up on the same ship as his brother Alan.
And I said, well, I want to serve. He says, but I would like to serve with my brother. And I gave him the name of the ship and all that kind of stuff. And then within a week, my orders had changed and I was to report on board with my brother, who had no idea that I was coming. So from then, we had a wonderful experience. I was a third-class commissaryman, and I was also trained to assist with on the corpsman crew as a sort of a hospitalman. And my brother was the dispersing clerk. So if he paid him, I fed him, and if they gave either one of us trouble, I wouldn't feed him and he wouldn't pay him.
Both brothers were born and raised in Laredo, Texas, sons to George Jackson and Lolita de Amo. Glenn and Alan Jackson both learned a lot while in the military. They share with us what they remember the most from their service.
I had the experience of holding the first Latin American Coast Guard serviceman who died in the service in my arms. Eddie Hernandez from San Antonio. And to this day, I am in contact with his family. I've visited with them in San Antonio. We've had wonderful cries and wonderful laughs together. And That was probably the paramount, the most peak of my experience, other than serving our country there in Vietnam, which to this very day, sadly, I don't know why we were ever there. But I was called to serve my country, and that's where my country sent me, so.
I think we all, in one way or another in life, we have to learn a little humility. And I think that's where we got our share of humility, because we learned that we're really nothing. And we all depend on each other in this world, and nobody's better than anybody else. And I look back, I might have hated the days when I was there, but I look back now and I thank God that I went through the experience. It's the humility that we'll all encounter at some point in our lives.
Thank you, Glenn and Alan Jackson. Laredo ISD salutes you for your service to our country.
Alan and Glenn Jackson, we owe you our gratitude and thanks for your service and sacrifice to our country in the United States Navy. At this time, I ask everyone to please remain standing for the national anthem to be performed by the Dr. Leonides Gonzalez Cigarroa High School Mariachi under the direction of Mr. Servando Serna. Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the robbers we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets reckless, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does the star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land and of the free and the home of the brave?
Mr. Serna, we thank you and your students for this beautiful rendition of the national anthem. Thank you so much. And also for your serenata prior to tonight's meeting. Now please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Glenn and Mr. Alan Jackson, please lead us in the pledge. Please come forward.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. And thank you, Alan and Glenn. Now, can you both please join us up front once again? Our LISD Board of Trustees and our superintendent will be presenting you with plaques to thank you for your service in the United States Navy on the same ship, in the same war. That doesn't happen very often anymore. In fact, I think there's a law against that.
Glenn and Alan, thank you so much. Thank you for your service. Here at LISD, we take this very, very seriously. We've been doing it since I've been here at least. And we internalize it because we understand the value that you brought to our country by doing what you did. No task is small enough, or high enough, or bad enough, or good enough. Everything is done for your country, and you do what you have to do. So those sacrifices are celebrated here because of your sacrifice, and we take the students to look at you all because, you know, they need to understand what the people that came before them went through. And hopefully they'll follow in the same path of being good citizens and being Rotary brothers as we were. Thank you for your service and service above self. And on behalf of the 21,000 students here at LISD, once again, thank you for your service.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. We're here to serve.
Thank you. We're just following a tradition of giving back. I think we need to get back to that a little bit more in this country, and we're honored to serve. Thank you.
May I continue with special observances? Yes, okay. Under special observances, Betty Contreras passed away on May the 2nd. Ms. Contreras was the librarian at Kristen Middle School for more than 40 years. And next we have Maria del Pilar Vasquez, who passed away on May the 5th. She was a 4th grade teacher at Santa Maria Elementary School. She retired in 2003 with 37 years of service to the district. So may we please have a moment of silence in memory of Ms. Contreras and Ms. Vasquez. May I continue with board recognitions? Yes, okay. On board recognitions, we have some worthy individuals who will be recognized this evening. This includes a district tennis champion, a future medical professional, and several students who have excelled academically and in their extracurricular activities. Up first, we have Lathan Solis from Cigarroa High School. Lathan was selected Most Valuable Player for District 35A and was back-to-back district champion. He was also the district champion for 2022 in boys doubles and was a regional qualifier last year and this year. Here with Lathan is his coach, Josue Montoya, school principal, Mr. Isnaola, our LISD athletic director, Silvia Barrera, the director of the Sabas Perez Magnet School, Ms. Dr. Rocio Lopez, and Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, Ms. Maggie Martinez. Please. Next, we have from the Dr. Dennis D. Cantu Early College High School, Junior Deyanira Ibarra. Deyanira recently placed third in the Life Support Skills Division at the State HOSA Conference. This qualifies her to attend the National HOSA Conference this summer in Dallas. Deyanira is the first Cantu Early College student to attend the National HOSA Conference. And joining Deyanira is her sponsor Mandy Walker and Juan Aguilar, along with school principal Jerry Arredondo, Rogelio Garcia, who is our executive director of CCMR, Advanced Academics and School of Innovation, and our assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, Dr. Gerardo Cruz. We also have the principal of Martin High School, Mr. Mario Mireles. Following Deyanira, we have Mr. Juan Manuel Lara, a student at the Dr. Leonides Gonzalez Cigarroa High School and the Sabas Perez Early College High School. Juan was selected for the prestigious Gates Scholars Class of 2023. As a member of the Gates Scholarship Class of 23, Lara will attend the Gates Scholarship Summer Institute. He will be attending the University of Oregon this fall, and he plans to explore a career in the STEM field. Here with him is his principal, Mr. Isnaola, and Sabas Perez Early College High School principal, Dr. Lopez, Rocio Lopez. I think I see his parents. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Lara. And now we would like to recognize Natalie Tristan, a senior at Nixon High School and the Business Industry and Public Service Academy. Natalie is the valedictorian at Nixon for the class of 2023. And she has been selected as a recipient of the New York University Stern Scholarship. As the recipient of the Stern Scholarship, Natalie will be heading to New York City to attend NYU's Stern School of Business on a 4-year scholarship where she hopes to become the next Wall Street tycoon. Here with Natalie is her school counselor, yes sir, she is Belinda Gonzalez, and Principal Cassandra Mendoza. And our athletic director, Sylvia Barrera, reminds me that she's a 3-sport letterman: volleyball, basketball, and softball. Yes, congratulations. And now we have Saraí Sepúlveda from the Héctor J. Garcia Early College High School. Saraí is also the valedictorian of her class, and she was awarded the University of Texas at Austin Impact Scholarship. This scholarship provides $12,000 per year to fund the cost of a UT Austin education and was created for students from across the state of Texas who are already making an impact in their community. Joining Saraí is her counselor, Ms. Marla Alanis, and her school principal, Ms. Margarita Taboada. So proud of our students. So this month we have honored our nurses, police officers, and teachers. And now it's time for us to recognize those who sit up here at the table, our LISD Board of Trustees. With the support of our Board of Trustees, LISD has truly been leading the way by earning 2 A's from the Texas Education Agency, making us an exemplary school district. So our board members will be pinned by members of the cabinet with our newly minted medal, the Leading the Way Medal. And so I'd like to start off by calling our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Gerardo Cruz. Would you please step up and Dr. Cruz will be pinning our board vice president, Mr. Rick Garza. And now our Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, Ms. Maggie Martinez, will be pinning the medal on Dr. Gilberto Martinez, Jr. And now I would like to call up our Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Business Operations, Ms. Flor Ayala, who will present Mr. Juan Ramirez Jr. with his medal. Our Assistant Superintendent for Plant Facilities and Support Services, Mr. Angel Velasquez, will pin with Mr. Rudy Morales with our Leading the Way medal. And now our Executive Director for Human Resources, Ms. Gabby Rogerio, is here to present the Leading the Way medal to Ms. Veronica Orduño. And finally, our Executive Director for Technology Service, Mr. Ambrose Gomez, will present the Leading the Way medal to Mr. Goyo Lopez. Thank you, board members, for all you do for our school district. Thank you. And before we conclude with our board recognitions tonight, we'd like to show our board members and our audience videos produced by the Instructional Television Department. I will give our board members a chance to return to the seats while we prepare the video. Our videos tonight highlight the LISD Teachers of the Year and Paraprofessionals of the Year, our Teacher Incentive Allotment Program, and the district's newest cohorts of the Holdsworth program.
Instructional Support Paraprofessional of the Year, a teacher assistant from Leon Blanquis Elementary School, Mr. Juan M. Madrigal. LISD's 2023 Clerical Operational Department of the Year. The receptionist at Raymond and San Martin High School, Ms. Esther B. Garza.
So the probability that I got sick from COVID at one of those events was very real. Yes, we have 400.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for LIC Secondary Teacher of the Year, Ms. Stephanie Solis from Lamar Middle School.
Last 2 weeks ago at the Nelson Center.
Please give a rousing cheer for the LIC Elementary Teacher of the Year from Loma Linda Elementary School, Ms. Rosa Gisela Umaye.
he's retiring.
The Teacher Incentive Allotment, or TIA, is additional state funding for teachers that provides an accessible pathway for effective teachers to earn a higher income while remaining in the classroom. The Laredo Independent School District is proud to announce that 39 teachers have been designated by the Texas Education Agency as recognized, exemplary, or master teachers, and they now qualify for this funding. As a result, the district will pay out an allotment of approximately $470,000 to our newly designated teachers. Laredo ISD would like to congratulate our designees for being some of the most effective teachers in Texas.
No, you're so funny.
Thank you, Mr. Ovando, and ITV and board members, Dr. Rios. This concludes tonight's board recognitions.
Thank you very much. Next item will be any public forum.
Mr. Vice President, we do.
Yeah,
Both-
go ahead, proceed.
Before we proceed with public forum, the following statement must be read. As per board policy BD legal and BD local, The following processes and procedures must be adhered to during public forum. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Non-English speakers requiring a translator provided by Laredo Independent School District may be allotted additional time by the presiding board officer. The presiding board officer may modify or waive these time limits as appropriate. Public comment shall not be used for personal attacks by the speaker against district employees, students, or others. Speakers who engage in personal attacks or use insulting, profane, threatening, or abusive language during any board meeting shall be ruled out of order by the presiding board officer and may be escorted from the board meeting room by district peace officers or security staff. Any concerns or complaints regarding individual district employees, students, or parents must be resolved via the appropriate complaint process as stated in Board Policy BD Local. Pursuant to Section 551.041 of the Texas Government Code, no board member or administrator may respond to a member of the public unless such response is a recitation of district policy or a statement of specific factual information. With that having been read, our first speaker is Mr. Luis de la Garza, representing TSTA.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Rios. As many of you all are aware, Mr. Lavinia has retired from public service, and as a result, TSTA Laredo United has entrusted me with the reins of the organization. For the record, my name is Luis de la Garza. Many people also know me as Guayo, and I will be the new TSTA Laredo United president effective June 1st. I would like to publicly state that all official statements of TSTA Laredo United come directly through the office of the president. I stand before you on behalf of the thousands of TSTA Laredo United members to let you know that we are ready to collaborate with this body in order to continue to help the students of Laredo ISD become successful members of society. As you're aware, the nation is facing runaway inflation that salaries have not been able to keep up with, and as a result, many workers in the district have been working second jobs to help make ends meet. The morale of our workers, your family members, is low due to lack of comparable raises. I am asking Laredo ISD to create a significant cost of living adjustment for all workers based on their pay scale. The cost of living adjustment is separate from a raise that the workers need in order to help sustain themselves and their families. Due to the major increase in everyday staple items, I'm asking this body to provide raises for all employees to mitigate the rising cost of inflation. Hays County ISD provided a 7% cost of living adjustment on April 2022 for all employees at the midpoint of each pay grade. I took the liberty of comparing the starting pay of 3 Title I border districts, Brownsville ISD, McAllen ISD, and PSJA. The highest starting pay for teachers is at PSJA, where a 0-year teacher makes $55,000 a year. Paraprofessionals such as bus drivers, custodians, and security at these 3 districts also benefit from a higher starting pay, which amounts to $15 an hour. I chose to compare these 3 districts as they share the same demographic group as Laredo ISD, including an ADA, which may fluctuate due to students commuting in and out of Mexico throughout the year. I look forward to working with this board to help improve the quality of life, not only for the students of Laredo ISD, but also for its workers who make up the lifeline of this great district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Mr. Anthony Torres. He's a student and would like to speak on having the board investigate allegations.
Good evening, board members. My name is Anthony Torres. We are not safe. An adult snuck into my school and sat in a class undetected. As I said again, an adult snuck into my school and sat in my class undetected. Another thing, no No one passes the metal detector in a orderly manner. How can they detect it if anyone has a weapon? Coming in here, no, I didn't even get checked properly. They didn't even check my stuff. I could have been hiding something. Number 3, we still cannot use Shirley Field to train for national Raider competition. We lost good JRTC members to drugs because they lost interest when you took away Sergeant Martinez and Mr. Reese. I blame you for ignoring us. We want to go to Nationals Raider competition, but no one wants to talk about it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Ms. Kayla Sanchez, a taxpayer, also wanting to speak on the board investigating allegations.
Good afternoon. Kayla Sanchez for the record. I'm an LISD taxpayer, single mom, and veteran member of the Martin High JROTC Coalition. We are here again because our request to right the wrong things done to LISD employees like Sergeant Martinez and Mr. Reese and other employees have not been addressed, to include the bullying by LISD of Commander Emiliano Paredes and his mother, to include the violations of freedom of speech of Emiliano and Anthony and Mr. Reese have been ignored by the grievance process, the failed grievance process that you refuse to reform. Through advocacy, we have won several battles. We do not want to seem ungrateful either. We are very grateful, but that doesn't mean we will stop fighting, even more so when there has been abuse, bullying, disrespect handed down by LISD. For example, the mental abuse, the stress, the anxiety, the depression that Martin High School Raiders parents, LISD employees have gone through on the hands of LISD leadership and LISD board ignoring them and invalidating their many concerns. We are here again asking for a seat on the table concerning the JROTC building, which I want to ask, are you building for growth? Grievance process reform, police report reform so victims can go to LPD or sheriffs and avoid LISD police cover-ups. The need for individual stop and bleed kits for security and police to have on them physically, to include the training to use that kit. Better funding for all JROTC and for Martin High School Raiders to be supported to go to Laredo Nationals in Georgia. Equity, that's all we're asking for. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And our next speaker is Mr. Valentin Ruiz, JROTC Coalition and taxpayer, also wanting to speak on the board needing to investigate allegations.
Thank you. I am Valentin Ruiz. I'm a taxpayer and a member of TSTA, but I am not here to speak on behalf of TSTA, but I'm here to speak on behalf of all taxpayers. In LSD, you are using teacher aides and substitute teachers. The students and teachers suffer because of the lack of support. The district saves money, but where does that money go? It did not go to to the employee cost of living adjustment. Did it go to the replacements of countertops of the superintendent's office or her meeting room or the marble floors? Was that a necessity? As a taxpayer, I know a city manager with experience only makes $250,000. Does the superintendent have previous job experience as an SI? She is making $50,000 more than a city manager that has experience. And I'm not attacking her, I'm only speaking the truth. She's making double the salary of Congressman Henry Cuellar, and he has experience. Families are struggling with taxes, and I blame both present and past board members for not cutting the fat and causing our taxes to rise. You give your family and friends million-dollar contracts on things we do not need, like a fence, and in return, you give the superintendent a 10% raise and followed by a 13% raise, and then you extended her $300,000 contract for another year. The inflation rate is 9%. That's a huge cost of living increase. But yet, LISD employees have not received a COLA increase. You require no experience for a superintendent. How many other employees have no job experience? I wonder, teachers and classified staff are struggling. I see them literally picking up food from the floor that students leave behind, or they pick them out of the trash can to get a banana or an apple or a milk. Food that you deny them for free. Employees cancel out paying their health insurance and union dues. The teachers' incentive allotment is not fair. Many teachers are not getting proficient in evaluations only because they are vocal and advocate for themselves, even when the data shows that they have passing scores. This kicks out great teachers out of the TIA. Why are administrators and school taking a cut?
Sir, I'll give you 30 seconds to finish.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate it. What about the teachers left out? What did those that did their part, as well as other staff? If you notice, some of them got 30,000, some of them got 16, some of them got 8,000. Where's the equality? Where's the equity? That is not fair. Lastly, we lost former JROTC students to drugs or an alternative school. Why? Because the past and present board members failed to address their concerns. Colonel F. from Nixon and his puppets destroyed the Martin High School radar program, and students suffered. We need board members to recognize what has been going wrong and make the right thing, please.
Sir, that concludes your time, sir.
Thank you. Do the right things. We're depending on you.
Chairman, that is, concludes our last speaker.
Okay, item number 1. Dr. Rios?
You're not gonna do any of these yet? The committee
No, we'll hold
The committee reports and all that?
the committee, well, let's go to the committee. We don't have any committee reports for this month anyway.
Okay,
So the board communications will hold till the very end.
okay. Mr. Garza, I recommend that items on the consent agenda, number 1 and number 1, I guess, at a time? You have to, I
Okay,
recommend
do I
that
hear
you
it?
approve
I
those?
recommend, or does anybody recommend for approval? Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I so move.
Second?
So can
Wes,
can
I have a
list all of
question
them?
for clarification.
Yes, go ahead.
What was the motion?
To approve the consent, I move to approve the consent agenda on item number 1.
Okay.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That goes on, item number 2? No, we go to item number,
So, Mayor?
yeah, go ahead.
I would like to recommend that items number 2, number 3, 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D, 3E, 3F, as well as item number 4, and you see, as listed, item number 5, item 5A, 5B, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11, number 12, number 13, and number 14. I would like to ask you all to please consider a motion to approve those on the consent agenda.
Is there a motion for approval?
Madam President, Mr. President,
Yes.
I'm gonna have questions on number
Yes, sir,
4, 4B, 4L, number 11,
Leave those.
number 13, and also I would like to, on number
Where's L?
3A.
Okay, let's remove those from the current motion. and then we'll come back to those. So all those in favor for the exclusion? Anything else?
Yes, just a minute.
In 3D. And
Which
3D.
other one?
3D.
While Ms. Orduño is looking, I also have a question regarding item number 2.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure if item number 3, in terms of discretionary funds, if that's open also for discussion.
Yes, because we are gonna amend it, so, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm okay.
Okay, so that we've deducted the ones, or, for right now, right, Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So all those in, we have a motion on the floor right now. I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor for approval?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Let's go back one by one. Mr. Lopez wanted to speak about item number 2.
I may have missed it, it may be an error on my part, but in reading the minutes of the regular board meeting, I felt there was minutes missing from commentary from 4 trustees. And I just wanted to address that, to make sure that the minutes are accurate and reflect the full commentary that was shared on that date.
Okay. What is the protocol on that?
We can go ahead and not vote on that one, get them corrected, and vote on at the next meeting.
I would like to make a motion to amend and modify the minutes of that meeting to reflect the accurate transition of the meeting that occurred.
Okay, so,
We need a second.
so then we table the item then?
We need
I
a
second.
second, go ahead and.
We need a second for that? Okay, very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Point of order, I mean, we can't really do that until we all read the minutes, like what was put in, so I think because I already signed them, all right? Did I sign them already?
They've already been signed.
So, yeah, in order for us to approve it, we have to read what the comments are, or else we're approving something blind. Does that make sense?
Okay,
But we're not approving anything, that's the whole point of order.
so,
Right, sir, but we have to see it in written, because,
Well, I didn't transcribe the commentary that day. Like I say, it may have been oversight on my part, but when I
Yeah,
read the
yeah.
minutes in preparation for today's meeting, I didn't see the commentary offered by our board president. I didn't see the commentary offered
Sure.
by our vice president. I didn't see the commentary offered by trustee Ramirez. And I didn't see the commentary offered by trustee Orduño when it came to the vote on trustee Morales.
Sure,
That's
yeah,
specifically what I'm asking about.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I'm just saying that I think we need to see that in writing before we actually vote it. To make sure everything that you want, as also everyone else has, input on.
so then the right thing to do at this point is, we already have a motion and a second on tabling the item so that we can bring it back and iron out all the little deals before we even actually vote on this, the way they want to see it. I mean, I'd rather have them read everything clearly and amend it before we bring it to the next meeting, and that way everything can be clear. Is that what we want, right?
Thank you, yes.
Yes, I call for the question.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The following items on number 3. It was can you repeat the items that we're gonna start one by one on the item number 3?
3D.
3D. Mr. Vice President, may I?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice President. On this item, I would like to amend this particular item based on the following figures for a total of $2,096. That will be $150 to the Parental Liaisons Department for Martin High School, Landecker Elementary, Farias Elementary, Santa Maria Elementary, and Kristen Middle School to be used for supplies or any items that department might be in need. $500 in total for the attendance department of Martin High School, Kristen Middle School, to Farias, Santa Maria, and Landecker Elementary for end of the year. $500 to the Martin High School Yearbook Club. And finally, $296 to the Martin High School Ladies Basketball Team. And that should total $2,096, I believe.
2046, I'm getting more
Yes.
note from it. 2046?
Yes.
Very good, duly noted. Mr. Orduño?
Yes, I
would like to designate the $471 that are left over to the Cigarroa High School Mariachi.
Excellent. Duly noted on that, which brings the grand total on the amended amount plus what was suggested to $25,145. Is that correct, Jessica? Yes, sir. Very good. Do I hear a motion for approval on that?
So move.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Mr.
so hold on.
Morales, yes.
We have one more comment over there. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I also would like to amend item number 3 with the following allocations. For Martin High School National Cheerleaders Association Cheer Camp, $4,223. Martin High School Transportation for Student Event, $1,800. For McDonald Elementary School, for incentives, cone machine, popcorn machine, and rasta machine, canopies, PBIS incentives. And for the Alina Elementary School, PBIS incentives, folklorico student costumes, and Dikes Elementary PBIS attendance incentives as reflected in this spreadsheet, in a total amount of $15,006.
15,006.
And I have one final amendment.
Okay. You got that, Jessica? All righty. Mr. Lopez?
Mine is $3,600 for VMT choir
Right.
to pay for the buses.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good. So we stick at what I said earlier, right? On the 25, okay. So we're still gonna go ahead and amend, we have a motion and a second for the approval of $25,145. Any more questions? Everybody okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. There was another one in the 3 area? No?
Correction, no. We're
Oh,
going
anybody
forward.
against? No,
Oh,
right?
sorry.
Okay. What was the other one, Mr. Ramirez?
The next one is under 4B.
Okay. Moving on to 4B, bulk constructional supplies estimated expenditure of $225,000. Who will speak to that? Mr. Ramirez?
It's 4B, just for the record, the self-funded health plan administration estimated at 26,353,200.
4B.
4B.
4B
B as in
is-
boy.
But it's bulk instructional supplies.
Okay. Staying corrected.
Yes.
So what, let's go ahead, because we did take it out on 4B alone, so do I hear a motion for approval on 4B?
So moved.
A second on that?
I second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Is there another item that we left out on this?
Let's see.
And by the way, yeah, look at it, if there's anything else that we can talk about, we'll do it, no problem.
Yes, the question was for the Martin High School special ed education remodel.
That is 4H.
But did we pull that one out?
No, it's on the agenda.
Right, but
No,
I mean,
did we pull it out at the beginning on,
No, because I had the
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 wrong
one that was
agenda item?
provided,
Okay,
yes.
very good. Can we revisit that, Mr. Perez?
I would like to make a motion to go ahead and bring back item 4H.
Very good. Can we get a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any against? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I know that during the committee meeting, I brought some questions in reference to this item. Number one, the first concern that I had was I looked at the committee that was present to discuss this item, and I noticed there were several individuals. I noticed Mr. Menendez was one of them present, and Ms. Moreno, I believe, the assistant principal. But the concern that I had was on that checklist, there was nobody from the special ed department there to, in my opinion, based on that form, to give input as to what is needed. Are we doing everything that compliance? It's not that I don't doubt the department, but it's to make sure they have a voice. And I know that was the question, one of the questions. And the second question that I had asked was the concern if there's enough space, is the remodeling, the rooms they're gonna be remodeling, adequate to house our students that we currently have and the students that we might foresee coming in from their middle schools. That was the concern that I have. And I know we asked Mr. Gomez if, as a director of the special ed department, if that was correct. So that was reset for today, to see if we can get information if that's being compiled, have then been reviewed, is the space adequate, the square footage. I know that was one of the other ones, is the square footage a little bit bigger than what they currently have, because my concern is we might have an X amount of students this year, next year or 2 years from now, we might have even more. And that's the concern that I had. If we have the adequate space, wonderful. If not, let's get it done.
So may I?
Yes. Go ahead, Dr. Rios.
With all, to tell you about the process a little bit. Before any project is decided upon, there is a lot of feedback, and I know that Mr. Mireles is here because he can tell you that they may not have been listed in that committee per se, but he can tell you exactly which teachers, which are the end users that actually were part of that design process. And then on top of that, anytime that we build a special project or consider building a special project, we have to look at the specifications from the Texas Education Agency, especially specifications that have to do with a program. So I would like to ask Mr. Mireles to please come forward and talk a little bit about how his teachers, who are the end users, actually participated in this process. Mr. Mireles?
Good evening, board members. Good evening, Dr. Rios, members of the audience. Since the beginning, our unit teachers were involved in the process. I know that we've met with the architects, we met with different people that were key in the project. And I know that through the process, the model for the units were changed and tweaked, especially with that input from the teachers. Things like how they saw the room entering, where the kids are gonna be more accessible, changing tables, rooms like that. So they were modified and tweaked into that. And also when we were getting the numbers, I know that the architect provided us with numbers from a TA and what square footage you need for a special ed student. I know that the numbers where they're currently housed right now, their numbers will be larger. It's a 500 square foot area that is a little bit larger, which this 2 rooms plus the existing unit that is in that wing is gonna be able to house. I believe they have 16 and 14 students in those 2 special ed units. And according to the TEA guidelines that the architect provided, now the units are gonna be able to house 25 students for 1 unit and 23 for the other. So the numbers are gonna be larger, and this is not including the area that is gonna be designed for all the services that they receive, such as physical therapies or any other issues. So that area is not included. This is just the classroom size, the new kitchens, and the way they kind of tweaked everything to make it more accessible for all the students. But in rough numbers, that's what we're looking at, about 500 square footage per the 2 classrooms combined, bigger than the existing area.
So I do want to make one more comment on this. The area where they were housed, it's an older area. And what we wanted to do, that was the inception of the thought process for this, was to actually bring all of these students into a common area where teachers could speak to each other, talk to each other, and that building is a more modern building. So getting back to the tweaking of the area, I do want to assure you that whenever a special area is designed, a cafeteria, a gym, a band hall, labs, that is all taken into consideration to make sure that the services that are going to be delivered in that classroom are able to be delivered in a way that is most productive for our students. So I will tell you that this was not a thing that happened over a week. We've been talking about this project for almost a year. I also want to tell you that once we do this project and that other current building is demolished, that is going to make way for the ROTC building. So I know Ms. Orduño, you had?
Yes.
So I I was gonna ask you, Mr. Migueles, we're saying 16 to 14 kids that you have.
Yes.
Are you allowing for growth? And the reason I'm asking this is because of these 16 and 14 kids, how many of them have, plus the aides, plus the teachers? I understand right now it's a little bit crowded where they're at,
Yes, ma'am.
because of all the additional personnel that you have there. So my question is, when these rooms are built, will that allow for the teachers, for the aides, for the one-to-one aides, for the wheelchairs, for everything that these kiddos need?
Yes, based on the projections, the answer is yes. We're taking into consideration where the students are gonna be placed, how they're gonna be distributed. Plus, there's one of the larger units that is there that is gonna be adjacent to the new rooms. That is where a lot of the numbers for the new projections come in, that they're also gonna be housed in there. So that's one of the, at Essence, and I know we just communicated with the special ed department, and we're also looking into adding an additional unit where we're gonna have a program where students from those units are gonna be coming out and focusing like the graduates and life skills. So we're also looking at that, which will minimize the number of students, number of teacher aides in those new classrooms.
So we're talking about unit children?
Yes,
We're not
ma'am.
talking about resource children?
No, ma'am, unit
Okay.
kids. Yes.
And this other room that you're going to do, is that a sensory room? What is?
It's like provides job skills for graduates
Oh,
that
job
come back, job skills, and we have an existing classroom that is big, and that's where our job skills students are going, and we have an existing teacher, and I know that we're working to get another teacher so the numbers can get down, and those students can be over here, which will have the number of students in the units also decrease. And those are based on the projections for next year. The students that are coming in and the students that will be coming in from Kristen and our seniors that are graduating.
And these are job skills, these are different from the ones that leave and go work at Peter Piper's and things like that?
Yes, and I know that Mr. Gomez, since this is the first time we've communicated, I know there's this type of program is in another school. I think he can explain
Okay.
the type of program that
Please.
we're looking into.
And there was an existing classroom there already. So we wanted to be able to have the teachers be able to communicate, participate with each other, and actually work together to ensure that the program is aligned.
Yes, good evening, board members. Welcome, Mr. Morales. Congratulations, sir. Dr. Rios. Okay, so to respond to your question, Mr. Orduño, yes, this particular unit is a new self-contained unit. This will be the next step. Basically, we have it at Cigarroa High School, and this is for all the students who already finished all their credits, everything they need, the continuers, and then they're gonna continue working on job skills and all of that, but just concentrating on that. So based on those numbers, Mr. Orduño and members of the board, then one of the teachers is going to start next year with 13 students. And so they can house in these classrooms, Mr. Ramirez, 25. So we do have room to grow. The second classroom also with 13 students, okay? So they have 12 students to grow. And then the last classroom with 16, they'll have 9 more students to grow. And this new unit is gonna start with 12 students, the next step. And again, these are for the continuers, Ms. Orduño, until 21.
And how many are there?
Okay, there will be 9, 10, 12. They're projected 12 to begin in that new unit.
All of them from Martin High School?
All of them from Martin High
So
School.
you have this Martin High School, you're thinking about 18 plus?
18 plus, that
okay,
is correct,
great,
yes.
Great. So we have 12 at Martin High School. We have another unit like this where?
At Cigarroa High School.
Okay, so then we need to start thinking now about Nixon
Nixon.
High
And
School.
we have always tracked the numbers. Sometimes the numbers are too low, and that's why we don't open that new unit, if you will. At this point, Martin High School has projected 12, so that's why we're opening up. We're looking at Nixon. We're gonna be looking very closely into that. We may need to open a new unit also for that type of students.
I had mentioned this to the superintendent, and this was one of my platforms, that I would want something in LISD, something better than United has, that Sheriff Center, okay? I've heard all these success stories that come out of that. I wanna hear success stories from our children too. And not here, not there, not over there, but all of them together, would be something ideal. and something that other people can emulate. That's really what I want. I want this district to shine. I want our kids to have the best. Because if we're talking about children with autism, there's no limit for them, and you know that. There's no limit. You know, our kids can get their degrees, can get a bachelor's, can get a master's. However, they can't hold their employment because of the lack of social skills. So this is something that would hopefully be embedded in there.
Thank you,
Okay?
Mrs.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, thank you.
Anything else? Thank you very much for your input. Thank you.
If
Do you
we're
have
still-
something else?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
If
yeah,
we're
you're
still
right.
talking about that room, my concern with that is that we only had one bidder. That's all we had. And I mentioned this to Mr. Velasquez, and their score is an 82.08. I mean, we're not even talking about a 95. We're talking about an 82.08 from this bidder that we have. And then another concern that I have is when it comes, because I was looking at all these agendas, and we always have an evaluator, Mr. Velasquez. And it's always been Scott Roberts. And then I look at this agenda, and something's like, wait a minute, liquid papered out, and there's somebody else. It's like, what is the reason for that? And why go with an 82.08 per company? I would love to table this and go out for bids again. And I understand. My thing is special ed. My heart and my passion are in special ed. But if we only have one bid, what is that saying about us as a district? They know who they're gonna give the job to, so everybody else doesn't come up and bid. So we need to change that. I don't know how my board, the board members feel about that, but to me, one bid with an 82.08 is not going to do justice to the building and to our kids.
So, with that being said, thank you. I'd like Ms. Ayala to probably comment on that. Remember that the bidding process is not 2 weeks long, it's a month, maybe more than that. Then there is a call for people to be able to bid. We all know that this is a special project, and maybe Ms. Ayala can speak to that, as well as Mr. Velasquez. If one of the things that I really want you to consider and think about any time that we have a bidding situation and we want to postpone, there is always that very great possibility of whatever that bid came in right now, if we wait another month, 2 months, 3 months, by the time it gets out back to you, it might not be that price again. And I understand what you're saying, and I know that we're trying to work the best that we can with the specifications that were given to all bidders, published, and then asking for them to submit an item, or not an item, but a bid. So Ms. Ayala, can you speak to that a little bit? And Mr. Velasquez, can you add to that?
So certainly, we can rebid this project. We just need direction from the board for us to rebid it by your vote. What will happen, this project will be delayed by the time that requires us to go back and bid and request bids again and go through the whole process of tabulation. But it will delay having the facility ready for the beginning of the next school year.
So that means that those kiddos that are right now housed in that other little house, they're gonna have to stay there for a longer period of time. And I understand the cost. I know that we always are very, very conscientious about what the cost is going to be. But our priority right now is to be able to better serve the kids, put them together in an area where that instruction can take place. So, of course, it is your right to be able to say, no, we're not going to accept this recommendation. But as a superintendent, I'm highly recommending that you consider this and put this back on the table so that there can be a vote for it. There is no guarantee that there's gonna be another bidder or a lower cost.
Mr. Vice President, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
And if we delay this construction project, then logically thinking, it would delay the construction of the new ROTC building for Martin, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so even, and just a little bit of elaboration, so what is the process to bring a new bid? I mean, to table this and to,
We have to
an
rebid,
estimated amount,
right,
to
we
be-
have
to
to
be clear.
post, right, we have to go through the same process again, post advertise for new bids. And then we have to advertise for approximately 14 days, then committee up and go through the whole process of evaluation, of evaluating all the bids, if we get more.
So I would like to ask Mr. Velazquez, did you sat in on the committee?
I
Or-
did not.
Yeah, Mr. Velazquez, can you talk a little bit about what goes on in that type of a committee? And were there, when they do score, because there is a score, as Ms. Orduño talked about, can you speak to that a little bit more?
Yes, well, you know, I approved like what the committee, or I review what the committee, you know, stated on the evaluation, right? As you know, the assistant superintendent for facilities. In some, when I have the opportunity, or in bigger schools, I do participate myself. You know, in this one, you know, I had conversations with our procurement department, with some members of the committee, our construction coordinator. And again, every project is different. Like, you know, there's some process established by the procurement department in which, you know, depending on, they establish the number of points that's supposed to be given based on the different categories on the scoring sheet. That's why you might be seeing like some 82, because maybe there's some, you know, okay, if they requested for some specific information, maybe they provided that, but not, you know, to the full extent or something. So the committee members, you know, are entitled to, in their minds, to say, well, to me, this is still like a good response, but I will deduct some points for these such and such reasons, right? So it's a very valid process, in my opinion. I mean, we use it for all the projects. And in this particular case, as I mentioned, like there was, you know, different bidders that participated in the pre-bid conference. They were interested. They were asking questions. They were, you know, looking at the scope of work. They got drawings, everything. And they, for whatever reason, they decided not to participate in the process. They didn't submit a price to us. Again, we evaluate all those things, you know, depending on the, you know, the criticality and the urgency of the projects. You know, maybe in some other situation when we're, you know, doing a roof or something that maybe, you know, you can still outlast for another 3 years. Maybe you can explore more options and more. In this particular case, again, as I mentioned before, our goal, it was to try to minimize the disruption to the school, because we have to remember that we're inside of a occupied area by Martin High School. And obviously, you know, we rebid and 3 more, you know, by the time you sign the contract and all of that, it might be already August. So all this noise and all, you know, the students that are housed in there will have to endure a longer period of disruption, you know, the more we delay the project. So again, we looked at all those things. We looked at the market, you know, in our community. We looked at, you know, what are the companies and what are the capability that they have to, you know, provide a bond and everything that is required to secure these projects. And based on those situations, sometimes we decide, okay, but let's try to go with this particular bid. And now we also checked if this price is kind of aligned with the current prices for renovations or new construction, depending on the situation. And it is, I think it is. Again, as I mentioned before, a big chunk of this cost is the air conditioning system, which, you know, we even discussed the possibility of cutting. Again, we're talking about units. We don't want to compromise the temperature for the students by cutting $260,000 out of this to make it like less expensive. But we have to remember that a good, you know, 25–30% of the cost is just that. It's just the AC equipment that is going to be brand new. So we looked at all of that, the actual brick and mortar work and the equipment, and it makes sense to us, right? So as the person that reviews these bids, I looked at all of that, and that's why we recommend to the board. Again, as Ms. Ayala just mentioned, it's at the will of the board to approve or disapprove. But when we bring something for approval, is because we already went through those motions of reviewing and trying to make the best decision for the school district.
but even if we do approve it today, this building will not be ready by August, whatever.
No, but I mean, definitely we'll start demolition during the time off that we have, so we will, in my opinion, minimize the, the sound, because there's gonna be cinder block demolition. You know, we have some walls that we need to remove, and ceilings and all of that, flooring. So again, yes, you're right, it's not gonna be ready for the first day of school, but the heavy work, in my opinion, a lot of that can be done during the vacation period that the students have. Again, it's at the will of the board. It's our recommendation to proceed with this.
Go ahead, Mr. Morales.
Sir, I know the score was in the 80 percentile. What were the concerns that dropped that score?
Well, as I mentioned before, every committee member might have a different perspective on things. I mean, like maybe some committee members are thinking just like Mr. Duño, saying like, well, I'm not necessarily giving all the points because there's only one bidder, and I'm going to deduct some points, or I'm just gonna deduct points for, whatever reason, or maybe they experienced some sort of, roof leak or something in the past, and they said, well, for me, that's, instead of 55 points, that's 47 points, So every committee member that is evaluating because remember, we're not evaluating the design, we're not evaluating the actual scope of work, we're evaluating the price and the response and the company that is supposed to do the work. So, again, every committee or every evaluator is gonna have a different perspective on different things on the list of, and I don't have it in front of me, but I'm sure that's a result of the final number.
It's extremely subjective when it comes to that, but I would also like consistency. So if you're gonna have all these people, Mr. Ibarra, Mr. Alcantar, Mr. Neira, Mr. Mireles, everybody, keep that consistent. Maybe, yes, definitely change the principle, because it's not gonna be, I don't want Mr. Mireles, if it's from Nixon, you understand that, but keep it consistent. That way their train of thought is the same. And if they're deducting whatever number of points because of the reputation this company has, it's consistent. It's not very subjective. Let's not do that. Let's not put ourselves in that situation where our voters are gonna say, no, but sir, they're gonna give it to this company. We don't want that. Like I said, we don't want that. And if we're gonna be, deleting people like we did in this one, I don't know where these people come from.
Well,
I don't know who
I can
they
tell you
are.
that it's always a challenge, because obviously, just like we're evaluating this, we have dozens of things that we evaluate,
I
right?
understand.
Everything that you see on the agenda, you have to pull out individuals or staff members to participate in these committees. And as you can imagine, sometimes they're busy, sometimes their supervisors are saying, come on, you already went a couple of times. I can't afford for you to go to those committees so often. Or sometimes they're principals, or sometimes assistant principals, and they're busy dealing with something. So it has happened to us all the time that when procurement establishes the list of individuals or committee members for this, there's always somebody canceling. There's always somebody that wasn't able to attend. And that's why, you see the changes in names, because like you still need a certain number of evaluators. And if you call and you can get anybody else, you ended up like saying, okay, but let's call somebody from technology so they can help us to kind of like go through this evaluation process.
It goes back to what are they gonna know about these things? You see, I would need a commitment, a committee that, like we had it at school. We had the staffing committee, and it was all of us at the same time. It was, yes. We all knew what questions we were gonna ask. We all were there, whether they took me out of my classroom or not. So maybe these things might be held in the afternoon, maybe when you're not too tired now or too busy. Another thing that I wanted to ask, you were not present in this meeting, correct? You were not present in this meeting?
Not on that particular one,
Okay.
but I mean, I reviewed the info.
Were all these members present?
Oh, yes.
Or did they just go like, okay,
no,
can you sign, can you
everybody
sign,
that
can you
signed
sign?
was present.
If they're there and they signed, they were present.
They were present.
And if there's a scratch, it's because there was a substitute. But I can work on that form to make it cleaner. not to create doubt.
And just for information purposes, there was a time like years ago in which, different boards have different, perspectives on things. And there was a time in which they were saying, okay, pues whoever like has experience with construction will participate on this, right? It can be principals and all of that. But then, years go by and, different people have different perspectives. And now they're saying no because, well, we don't want to rely on the same people all the time. So as a result of that now, we have kind of like a rule in which we have up to 3 members of, that are related in end users and people that, are, I guess, not necessarily, part of the same thing, right? The construction or design or end user. So again, that has been changing throughout the years. I can tell you that. Before it used to be the same group evaluating, and now it's not.
And we do have the criteria written in the manual, and we can share that with you. And if you want to provide feedback on our process, please address it with superintendent, and we can certainly work on that. But I can tell you, little things like this, they're cosmetic, and we can certainly improve. Of course, we want your trust. We want for you to trust our work. And yes, I do understand. I was looking at it, and we can certainly improve.
Dr. Martinez?
I just had a couple of questions. Have we worked with this company before, this bidder before, and how satisfied are we with their work?
Well, this building was
Okay.
built by them and most
Awesome.
of our schools, in the past. And I think like in the long run, I know that at times we have like obstacles that we have to cross. But I mean, like, I can tell you that, everybody is using our schools and they're providing very good service.
Okay, and if I can offer just a quick comment. I actually don't, and I don't see an 82 as a bad score, and let me tell you why. One of the problems with group decision-making, it's a good problem to have, but one of the problems is that decision-making takes longer. And when it takes longer, sometimes there is that temptation to just kind of engage in groupthink. And everyone's just gonna vote one way, yes, just get it over with it or whatever. So the fact that it came back with that type of score in 82, to me, meant that the group members were able to give good, honest feedback about what they were, thinking about what they were. I don't know how many people were part of this committee, but I can tell you that if you had 5 or more,
6 or 7.
then it becomes you have a better understanding of what the needs and wants are. So, again, being a B student my whole life, I sometimes, 82, and I do understand, and it's probably a little bit lower on the spectrum than higher, but I just had that question. How many group members? I think they must have done a thorough job, and they probably were able to exchange info. I wasn't there, obviously, but to me, that's what it sounds like.
Yes.
And I just wanted to see if we had worked with them before. I do agree, though, that we should not be giving the perception of, why submit a bid? They're just going to give it to so-and-so. With that, we don't want to give that perception. I do understand that, but I'm satisfied with myself with the recommendation, and the work speaks for itself, I think. Thank you.
I do want to make one more comment. I don't want to take any more of your time. But when you have the pre-bidding, I don't want to call it a session, conference, it says, Mr. Velasquez says, all these potential pre-bidders are given plans, they're given specifications. In other words, here's the project, all this, I'm not an expert on this, but then they have to make a decision, whoever the bidders are gonna be, do we take on this project or not? Is it worth our while? Be honest. Is it worth our while or not? But at that pre-bidding conference, they do look at what the scope of the work is gonna be, what is, and you correct me if I'm not using the wrong lingo, but they get to see, this is what the project is gonna entail, this is what we're expecting, here's a design, because remember, there's a process. So you all as board trustees, say, yes, we want to do this. And then you have to find a funding source. And after you find a funding source, then you still have to go out for an architect. Then you have to get permits. Then you have to, it's a whole big process that doesn't take 1 week or 2 weeks, even after you have approved it. So we've been working on this project for almost the whole year. And now it's just coming to you with the appropriation part or the bidding part. I don't want to say a whole year. I want to say more or less how many months, Ms. Ayala?
8, 9 months.
It's been about 8 or 9 months to get it to this point. To get it to this point.
So, okay, we're satisfied. Let's, and let me just add a comment there that I think we left out. At the end of the day, there's one person that's responsible for this project, and that's the architect. That's why the guardrails of having specifications and plans are in place, so that he can hold the construction company accountable for that, for the quality control, whether the project was done in appropriate lab, because he speaks to us. At the end of the day, the architect speaks on behalf of us, and he speaks to us. So if he doesn't approve the project at the end, if it wasn't done by his standards, then he doesn't approve the project. And whatever changes need to be made, the construction company has to go out there and get it done. So I'm happy with it's informative. There was a lot of things that we talked about right now, and there's a lot of moving parts to this issue. But I'm glad that, everybody's getting to hear about these things. And the next project that we do, I guarantee you there's gonna be more questions as we go along, because but the underlying fundamental process is what we're doing right now. Can those processes be tweaked? Absolutely. But, there's always those guardrails in place so that LISD is protected from start to finish, and I'm very happy with that. So we're done with that one. Do I hear a motion to approve this? Which is 4H. Do I hear a motion to approve 4H?
Yeah, I move to approve 4H.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Okay, next item. Yes, sir.
Mr. Vice President,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion. I noticed on the agenda, I would like to make a motion to move up, recall item number 9.
Okay. Motion has been made. Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
All those in favor to bring up item number 9 again?
Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I know this item is involving the student code of conduct. And I noticed there are some recommendations to modify the student code of conduct, and there's some concerns that I have.
Sure.
Specifically, number 1, in reference on page 2 with bullying. I was reading the student code of conduct, and it does mention bullying, but it makes reference to local policy FFI. Going over the student code of conduct, I didn't see policy FFI. So when the parents go to register their students, they receive the student code of conduct. That's not included in there for them to know what is the procedure to do if something's happening to their son or daughter. So if we're gonna be making amendments to the student code of conduct, I think we should include that policy in there so the parents are aware of what exactly to do. That way it's in black and white, or they can come to the campus and start asking questions as to the procedures. We can have the administrator in charge of answering questions, or our parental liaison that can be the first person of contact. So that's 1. The other concern is right now what we're having with the vapes. I'm happy that some of our staff members are together with a coalition that I saw that with UISD that did that. That's amazing. But the concern that I wanted to be clear is what is the actual procedure when a student is caught with possession of marijuana, knives, any other offense that occurs. Because I have constituents calling and say, oh, this student was caught with marijuana with a bag and nothing happened. They said, nah, don't worry about it, or they refer those students to Lara. And what I mentioned last in the committee is I have the full faith in our police department, and I can trust them with my life. But the concern that I have, if that same individual that commit that same infraction does it across the street from a campus, LPD will detain that individual and book them. It doesn't happen here. They're referred to Lara, or they're put in ISS, but that's the concern that I have, that we have the student code of conduct here, but are we really following it? And we have the penal code, we have the health and safety code, we have the family code, we have all these codes that are the law of the state of Texas that specifically says if these elements are checked off, this is what should happen. But yet, this one here goes, to my opinion, goes higher than all the codes that are the laws of the state of Texas. That's the concern that I have, because it's not about punishing people. I'm totally against that, but it's about providing the services that that person might need and benefit from. It's a concern that is happening. We have heard it many times, and I don't want for none of us to be sitting here and have one of our students die of an overdose in our campus. That's the concern that I have. So we have the policies, as it was mentioned in reference to bullying, what to do. I think, in my opinion, we need to include something as what are we gonna do about the vaping, because we need to act. And it was brought up in one of the meetings that were presented to our parents that some of our family members have huge concerns, and we need to start looking into that and rolling up our sleeves and doing something about it. So those are the reasons why I'm asking, brought this item back to go ahead and discuss this, because a lot of times we worry more dress code. Oh, you're not wearing dress code, you're gonna go to ISS. You're not doing this, you're gonna go to ISS. But when there's things that really happen, what are we really doing? That's the concern that I have. And I don't want to turn a blind eye knowing the concern that we have. Because we can ask any of our law enforcement officers, anybody from our administration, how many vapes have you been able to catch? Confiscate. And it's a big alarming number. It is. And I know there was time back, there was a person say, hey, what about Narcan? I was like, dude, you ask me for advice, get as many as you can. Because it's better to be safe than sorry. And we can worry about the training later on, get it done and train everybody. But this is a concern that I have, and we need to put it in our student code of conduct to specifically addressing that issue, because if we don't, we could be sorry later on down the road.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Mr. Castilla to talk about the process for actually working on the code of conduct. The student code of conduct is based on the legal references that the state as well as federal government makes. And Mr. Castilla?
Well, let me just on that one, he was talking about the bullying part, and and he wanted to see, is that local code or is it state code? What are we looking at?
What we have in the student code of conduct is always under Texas Education Code. So everything that is reflected under Chapter 37. And our procedures that we follow when we apply discipline, we follow the Chapter 37 procedures through the Texas Education Code. When you're talking about if students get arrested, or that is law enforcement, that is punitive, so that is something else aside from. So for us to be able to follow through and apply our student code of conduct, then we, depending on the charges of whatever happens from law enforcement, then us, the Texas Education Code, or Chapter 37, tells us what is mandatory and what is discretionary.
If I interrupt,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia, yes, and I agree with you, but looking at the policy right here, at the Student Code of Conduct, which is page number 9, says bullying prevention policies and procedures, Texas Education Code, chapter 37, as you read, you're correct. Refer to Student Handbook, page 4, bullying prevention policies and procedures, FFI local.
Yes.
My question is, can we include FFI local on the Student Code of Conduct? That way parents are aware of what the procedure and the policies are, because a lot of times I'm like, oh, pues no sé, mijito, I don't know. I don't know what to do. But at least we all, parents, get a copy of that book. We all sign off on that book, and I've been signing off on that book without knowing FFI local.
Correct. And in the FFI local, what it does, it just states the bullying policies that we must have on the Student Code of Conduct. If you look at, starts from page 8 on the Student Code of Conduct, you have definitions, the process, how do we investigate, how do we identify, and so forth. So that's only replicating that, but we can definitely add it on. But if you look at the FFI local, it is quite a lengthy document. So we try to have it as part of another booklet, so that way it is focused there. And that one usually on the online document, it's a hot link that we call it, that you can just click on it, it'll pop up that particular policy, but we can definitely add it.
Yes, and I think that would be the best thing, Mr. Garcia, because what you mentioned, you're totally correct. It's online, it's everywhere. But we have parents, Mr. Garcia, that are so humble that barely know how to use a smartphone, you know, and if we can have it, because there's parents that have the book right there, like next to the Bible.
Correct.
That if something happens, I know what to do. And if it makes reference to that policy. But if it makes reference to that policy, why is it not included? And if we can include it, I think we should.
Yes.
Because we have some parents that are gonna have that book or gonna go online, but they're also gonna say, well, I never saw it. Okay, so, and let me ask you, Mr. Castilla, because I know as a teacher, hijo, it's super difficult to, hijo, I said it, the standardized dress code. It's either I'm gonna teach or I'm gonna battle with them. I need to pick my battles, okay? And right now, coming back from COVID, and right now, they're wearing whatever they want, you know, as long as it's okay. This is gonna be an issue for the teachers, okay? Unless we have warning number 1 or send to, you know, parent liaison for a pant or whatever. We need to delineate what are we gonna do, okay, the steps. What's gonna happen, and not leave it just for the teachers, because this is gonna be on the teachers themselves. The other thing that I read was the cell phone. Oh my goodness, how in the world are we gonna take off those cell phones? There's no way, están pegados al oído. Okay, so that's another thing that I was like, oh my God, either I battle that or I teach. Which one is it? So I know this is beautiful and I'm writing, it looks beautiful, but I have been there. I've been there. It's like, put away your phone. ¿Por qué? It's like, oh, come on. So, you know it. You were there with me. So, there has to be something more that we can do for those teachers. Because we're not going to be battling the dress code, the phone. They're used to that. And I don't condemn that. I'm very strict with the phones. And I was very strict with the phones and with, the dress code. I even had cigarroameros school shirts there in my classroom. It's like, ve cámbiate. I was not gonna fight with them.
And that's, excuse me for interrupting you, but in essence, when it comes, like you said, standardized dress code, and that's where we recommend for them to not cause a huge disruption to the classroom setting. And this is where the teacher and it are the ones, at the forefront.
We're putting it on the teachers yet again.
And again, because that is the recommendations that we get from the campus and campus principals as part of the committee when we come together to ask what is it that we want to see in the dress code process now.
We need to start bringing back the principals, ma'am, so that we can address it with the principals. What is it that you're going to do? Are you going to back up the teacher? Or are you going to say, sabes que you look good? go back to class, because that's just demoralizing on the teacher. It's like, okay, mande a Goyo, they didn't do anything to him, he looks okay, volteate la camisa, whatever. It's just demoralizing. I'm talking to you as a teacher, and all the things that I went through. It's like, ay, por favor. So after a while, teachers get, we get tired, we get
Yes.
tired.
And I
And there
agree,
goes your code of
being a
conduct.
longtime teacher and principal, there's a lot of things that we may not necessarily agree with, but I will tell you that the feedback that comes from the people who are actually supposed to enforce it, to me, when I go to the campuses, one of the main things that I see is the little midriff blouse, and let me see that belly button, whatever you would call it. Okay, I'm past that age. And even though someone just said I didn't have experience, I have 46 years of experience, just to clear that up.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. There are some things, and as a teacher, I would say, do you want me to teach, or do you want me to be a police officer? Do you want me to teach, or do you want me to be the nurse? And many times, you're all of those things. I will tell you that the Student Code of Conduct is basically a representation of what the law is about, Chapter 37. So we do usually, of course, there's a process for it, there's a committee, and most principals are going to be cognizant of the fact. And I'm gonna go back to what Mr. Velasquez said a little while ago when we were talking about construction. There's different times when a board will say, no, you have to be extra strict, hair can't be past the what do you call it, right here, the collar. And then there's gonna be other times when the board is gonna say, you, as trustees, will say, no, let's forget about that, let's go back to teaching. We do have to have a set of standards by which we are expecting our kids to hopefully adhere. Now, should there be flexibility, I will tell you that during the pandemic, we relaxed a lot of the code of conduct, standardized dress, we did. In fact, when people were coming back, we said they can wear whatever they want to, as long as they come back. And I don't know if you were here at that time, but we did that. So I know that there is always a battle to determine, are we gonna be the police or are we gonna be teachers? And I am on that teaching side, because to me, that's what's most important. But again, let's go back to that phrase that Mr. Castilla just talked about. Are you such a big distraction that you are going to prevent other kids from learning or from actual learning taking place? That's, to me, the key. If you are that big distraction and whatever you're wearing takes the place of what actual learning is supposed to be about, then I think somebody's attention has to be called to it. And Mr. Mireles, you've been around. I've walked your campus, walked different high school campuses, middle schools, and even elementaries. And some kids do go to the extreme, and some kids don't. We just have to be able to work with children, and I'm saying children because they are. Most of us are in that age bracket where we can say that's not necessarily acceptable during my time, but it is actual learning taking place. I, as a representative of our family of educators, I am recommending that you please approve this so that we can get it published, so that we can share it with our parents and students, and at the same time be able to have these discussions with our staff, as well as our kids and our LISD community.
Okay.
May I just, one more thing?
Sure.
Another concern that I have going over the student code of conduct, and I've seen it, where there's no respect from some students to our teachers, to our security guards, even to our police officers. And they continue, and going over the student code of conduct goes about behavior, goes about multiple offenses, multiple violations. So if we have this book that entails what's gonna happen, why don't we follow it to the T? If they already gave me a referral for disrespectful or foul language last week, and I still do it today, and they take me into the principal's office, and I tell off the principal or the assistant, what happens? What happens now? I go to ISS. And we know, a lot of times, I know Juanito's and ISS, you know what, I want to be with my compadre, hey, I'm going to do the same thing so they can send me to ISS. And he continues, and he continues. But at the end of the day, just like Dr. Rio was saying, are we going to teach or we're going to police? And I'm all for our teachers to be teaching, doing their job as they do it every single day. But at the same time, they have to be dealing with that type of behavior that is written down of what should be done, and it doesn't go through. So that's the question that I have. If we have it, let's enforce it. If not, then what do we want it for? If we're going to enforce it when we want to, or because this happened now, I'm going to follow it through the T. But if we have it, let's make sure we follow it. You know, that's the concern that I have. And, you know, I've seen it where I've read where an officer is threatened with a uniform and a badge. What is there to say that doesn't happen to the bus driver, to the poor custodian, to the poor security? It happens. And it happens. So that's what we gotta look into. We gotta protect the rest of our student body and protect our LISD family as well. Because that might make me different from, you know what, I can still work for another 10 years, but you know what, enough is enough. I'm gonna retire, or I'm gonna go look for another job. Because we gotta provide that support. And I know administrators have heard over and over complaints. This is what's happening. And we all know that. But if we have this, let's go ahead and get it done. That way they know, and there's a procedure. Just like for the student, just like for the teacher, for everybody here. But if we have this in black and white, let's make sure we get it done. And whatever's not in there, let's include it in the student code of conduct. As it is placed up here on a pedestal, let's make sure everything is there and it's followed to the T. If not, you know, I don't want to see it again or hear, you know what, this is what's going on. And I see it when I get reports over and over. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't. I want a teacher to come be waking up every day. I want to go to work, or you're going to be, man, I got to deal with Juan again. And
Well,
you waste
what-
20 minutes of your class time.
Yeah. Well,
That's what I don't want.
Mr. Ramirez, I can assure you that every single individual in this room really tries to apply all of the codes, not only the code of conduct, but any regulation or policy that we have. Now, you have to remember that in a high school, you're gonna have 160 teachers. You may have, I don't know how many more individuals, and amongst that, for the most part, our schools are safe, because I certainly don't want the public to believe that our schools are not safe and that this is happening on a daily basis. I do tell our staff not to generalize and say all or none or some. You know, we need to make sure that as we approach, I do agree with you, we do have to implement what is approved, and we have to do better at training our students, our staff, as well as everyone in our LISD community, including parents. That is why sometimes you are going to get complaints from a parent that says, why did you send my child to ISS or to LADA or to JJAEP? All of those things happen. But unless you're walking the halls every single day and seeing that for the most part, and Mr. Mireles is here, I can tell you that for the most part, our schools and our staff, our assistant principals are doing what they need to do. Are there instances where there may be some kind of infraction against a police officer, a staff member out in the community? Not too long ago, we actually called out a 10-year-old trying to abuse his mother. So we are trying to do the best that we can, but I'm going to go back to Ms. Orduño's statement. What are we here to do? We're trying to do the best in being able to provide an education that is quality, and at the same time keep our students and staff safe. So with that being said, I once more ask you to please approve the code of conduct with those amendments.
This is what we'll do. I think this is a better idea. I mean, or an idea, see if you like this. Hopefully we get everybody on board already. That I agree that it does need tweaking, and valid points were said right now. So, I need you to do this if we can for the next couple of months, is just bring it back to committee. That way we can have these discussions in a little bit more detailed basis so that we can have that interaction. Because it's not fair to you or to, you know, that way, I like what Mr. Ramirez did. He came in with his 2 points right there. These are valid points. Anything else that you have at committee, you bring it forward and you say, at committee, we adjusted what you wanted, plus we found this and this and this. And that way, the board can feel a little bit more comfortable with what he's saying, because if it's not family friendly or if it's not reader friendly, then, you know, it's just another book. So, do you all agree that we should just vote it in? Let's get it going, and then at committee, we can just continue. If any tweaking you want to do, after that, we can do it. Obviously, it's gonna go to publication, I get it. I
Yes,
get it.
and so it will be late, and it's
No, but
required for us to have it within the
Well,
first
I
10
mean,
days.
I think
So-
what Mr. Ramirez, now with that concern, we'll approve it, but with that concern that he has, if we can do, like you said, a little better way of getting it, I guess, reader-friendly, because it's a big discussion, it's a big item that he's talking about.
Correct.
So that, you know, we can satisfy that part. Then anything else that we go along that we can improve online, amend it online, then, you know, we can refer people to that, because yes, publication that you need to have, so everything's on a time limit, a timetable here, so, do I hear a motion to approve item number 9?
I motion to approve item number 9.
No, we're on item number 9.
Number 9.
Just a point of clarification.
Sure.
So you're saying we're gonna vote right now is with the student code of conduct as amended by trustee Ramirez, with the verbiage that trustee Ramirez wants, correct?
Well, the verbiage, he wants to, it's more structural, in other words, he wants to have more wording on that.
And to
So,
include the policy
To include the policy.
include the
that
policy in
I
there.
That's
can
what we're
just
voting on.
put them
as
in.
an exhibit.
yeah,
That's an
Thank you.
yeah, exactly. So, do I hear a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Very good. We move to the regular agenda item, Dr. Rios, number 15.
There was a question under the consented agenda, I believe it's number 11.
11, okay.
Okay, I will speak to that, and Ms. Maggie can speak to that. This set of revisions to the Spirit Group guidelines do not have to come to you for approval. That is not required, but we do bring it to you so that you can be aware of what policies, or not policies, practices we are going to be following when we talk about Spirit guidelines. So it does not require your approval, but we wanted to put it in here so that you could see what is going to be for the entire school district.
May I,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Vice President?
Yeah.
I know this item came up before committee, and there were some concerns that we had. And recommendation was made to maybe come up with a different option. But reading over the booklet, one of the questions that I had was, and I didn't see the definition, what is a member in good standing?
The member of good standing is a student who behaves the way they're expected to behave. They have good attendance, they're good leaders, and they're good behavior students in the campuses. Also, the students who are not, bullying others or trying to, violate any of the student code of conduct book, any of those rules. Plus, we have, any extracurricular activity has, like the athletes, we have higher expectations. So we do have other rules for the kids, for example, not to be posting on certain websites, not to be posting themselves pictures, inappropriate pictures, in social media. So we have other extended expectations for those groups.
So based on that statement, Ms. Martinez, if somebody comes in, I'm participating, and there's pictures that I posted before, would that disqualify me?
Before, how long before? It has to be, you sign those papers every year.
Okay.
Every year we have the Spirit guidelines. So they're good for that school year. If you bring me a picture when you were in 8th grade and you were posting, something that you're not supposed to, and you're already a senior in high school, we cannot go back that long. And we don't go back on the years. It has to be within the recent year because you're signing every year those guidelines and those expectations.
Should you be participating?
Yes.
And then why is it there stating that you have to be good standing in any organization that you have partake before?
Because, for example, we have kids who participate in several organizations. Let's say we can have a cheerleader who's a band member. We can have a band member. You saw the valedictorian right now.
Yes.
She participates in 3 different sports. So you might have had a violation, let's say, in band, that you were not supposed to have done that. Then it should affect also your spirit guide, your spirit group. So we should punish the kid or prevent them from participating in any extracurricular activity that they participate, not only on one. Just because I did something wrong in band, I'm a good leader in cheerleading? No, that's the good standing procedures, you know? You're expected to be a leader all the way around, a well-rounded student.
And that's the reason I asked, what's a member of good standing? Because here on section 2, number 4 says, all students, all candidates for membership must be a member in good standing with all student organizations of which they are or have been a member of any LISD campus.
For example,
to me, that's period, since I started being a member.
Yes.
So when I asked that question about anything that's been posted, you mentioned that it's been within a year. So based on what it's here, it contradicts itself.
But if last year it was never brought up, we didn't know about that wrongdoing in previous years. And that happened this year, that's what I'm familiar with that.
Okay.
Let's say I'm a freshman, no, I'm a senior cheerleader right now. And then they bring me pictures when I was a freshman. But in the freshman year, it was never brought up to light. It was never addressed throughout the years until now. That's something that they want you out of tryouts, or it's the purpose of the reporting. You know, what's the intent of bringing a picture when you were a freshman, when you're already a senior? You know, with the punishment, and you should know because on the law is that what counts is the intent. What's the intent of the person bringing up that? What's the purpose of that?
I know what Mr. Ramirez is also saying. He's looking at the word before. May I, Mr. Ramirez? He's looking at the word before. So if I try out in April, okay? So you're gonna, if you make it, you're gonna sign, you're gonna attest that I'm gonna follow these rules and regulations. But if during that school year, either my grades were failing, and do you remember when you used to have progress reports, Ms.
Yes.
Orduño? And, or you know, they're figuring out your average to see if you can even try out. That's the same thing for band, that's the same thing for athletics, that's the same thing for extracurricular activities. Of course, we here at LISD, we want as many kids as possible to participate in everything. But Ms. Martinez is correct. We do hold those leaders in those kids who are leaders, who are supposed to be role models, to a higher standard. So as I said before, there's expectations, these are expectations that are required of every, and Mr. Mireles is here, and I only keep pointing to Mr. Mireles because he just looks like he wants to be asked something. But
Poor Mr. Mireles is
I
the only
know,
one here.
see, and that's because you're wearing a black shirt. Just imagine if you were wearing red. So here's the deal with that, you know, we want to be able to have exemplary students that are gonna be leaders and role models for others. So the set of spirit guidelines, before anyone signs, there's a meeting with the parent there, explaining that set of expectations. So before someone signs, they're being told, can you live up to this set of guidelines?
And also, let me add to that, Dr. Rios, because we've had those cases before. For example, there's a kid that comes from the middle school to the high school, and I'm talking about this time cheerleaders, right? Well, they had an outstanding balance. The parents never paid whatever they owe, whatever. And the little girl got dismissed, you know, from the organization. Now she's trying out again for cheerleader. So they have to have teacher recommendations. They have, you know, all those. So if the teacher doesn't complete the recommendations, if that student don't bring all that, it's because she failed at that year, and they don't recommend her. So those previous wrongdoings follow you, and sometimes they don't recommend you. Also, when, for example, if they did something wrong in the fall semester because they were in athletics, let's say volleyball, and now in the spring semester they're trying out for dance. Well, that is gonna, if you have referrals, you're not in good standing, right? So it will follow through. It will follow.
You'll be for that year, current school year.
Correct.
So I guess then we gotta modify the wording,
Yeah,
because how
Okay.
you read it,
For the previous
it
years?
contradicts.
it doesn't sound clear.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so again, these do not have to be approved by you, but we wanted you to be aware, because I know that you're gonna be the front line of any questions when people come and say, how come this, how come that? And so, if we may proceed.
I have,
No, for me, actually. Why do we have guidelines for spirit groups?
Why?
Why?
Because
Why
we
don't-
wanna make sure, okay,
What?
I'm gonna answer my way,
Yes,
but,
please.
they
Or-
may say more.
What's the history of this?
The history, because there have always been questions, how come you're treating this person this way? How come tryouts are different at Martin versus Nixon versus Cigarroa versus Lamar versus?
But we don't have
that.
guidelines for sports, we don't
Yes,
have
we do.
guidelines for band, we don't have guidelines
Yes,
for
we
any.
do. For band, we do.
You have a guideline book?
Not a set of guidelines that show to you, but each band director is gonna say, these are my expectations.
No, there's expectations for all, but I guess you're talking about
Like
why
a
we have to
scripted-
hire judges to judge the skits, right? Are
No,
you talking about that?
All these loopholes that they
Yeah.
have to do to qualify to become a spirit group member, I don't see that applying to all the other extracurricular activities. So why is this group special? Why do they need all these guidelines?
Because they're usually the ones that will come and say, you didn't write it down, so therefore my child is exempt, or my child needs to be in there, and I'll give you, okay.
But the sponsor should have the authority to say, I'm in charge and you're
Yes,
dismissed or
but
suspended.
that is true, but you know what, when it comes over here, it might change. So by having a standardized set of criteria, we try to limit that, because that's happening at every single school, and we wanna make sure that everyone is fair, and that they're being told the expectations even before.
Right,
And I
but-
know that being in band,
But we've
it's
never
different.
had band members come and complain that they were suspended.
exactly.
Or athletes complain that they were
Exactly.
suspended. So this only applies,
well, because they come and complain, I
And I
shouldn't say
think-
it that way.
I was thinking about this, Miss Maggie, when you gave us the booklet and when you explained it to us, and then I told you, I was like, why do we even have to look at it if it's not board approved, right? But I'm thinking, it could be, I was not a cheerleader mom, I was a band mom. And, yes, and I was a band kiddo, and they tell you, you're gonna behave, you're gonna do this, I mean, there's ways.
There's consequences,
There's
yeah.
consequences that upperclassmen can deal with you, right? But, but I'm thinking, we're giving them a little bit too much wingspan, and it could be because they have to purchase their own uniforms.
No.
It could be, ma'am, because we
Yes.
don't do
Well,
this
but
in
We
band.
purchase, oh, not band. We
Okay.
purchase the uniforms for the cheerleaders.
You do?
Yes, ma'am.
We can assist,
Oh,
we can, to some.
But yes,
Okay.
yes, but we do. I mean, nobody is gonna be left out because they can't buy. Now,
No.
let's talk about dance teams. I need to have this, I need to have this other, and y quiero esto más bonito, y que vaya how many dress uniforms so that I can go to camp? I can
Well, that's why, because I see it on my Facebook page, and they're like,
Yeah.
help me buy the bow, help me buy the.
We only
vest,
provide
help
the
me-"
uniform for those students who, like, they say they made it to cheerleaders, but they cannot afford it. We can help with that. Because the board has provided some funding for that, but not for all the cheerleaders. Plus, if we buy it for them, we have to collect it at the end of the year, and some parents
Yes.
is, no, I wanna keep it, so they pay for it. They buy it themselves.
Yes, because that we even explored, let's buy it for everybody, but then let's pick them up at the end of the year. For real? You think that the next group of girls are gonna wanna wear what they wore, the other ones wore?
Or you might not feed them on the sophomore year.
The band,
They
the
grow.
band members do that, they
Ah,
wear
yes, but
somebody
they have
else's.
adjustable things here, ma'am. Sorry.
That's true.
Okay, I have another just for correction. On page 5, it has the 904 Juarez address.
Page 5, ma'am.
Yes, we have not finalized all the
Okay.
book, because we met, again, remember after a committee meeting, you told us to go and meet with the sponsors we met with them again, and they stuck to the GPA. Yes. Yeah, we have the results of that. So we
So-
haven't finalized the final copy yet, but we will provide it to you.
So on the officer tryouts, did we come up with a different suggestion?
On the officer tryouts?
Yes.
All the sponsors already voted for that.
Because that's the concern that I have, Ms. Martinez, that, to my opinion, that's not fair. Because either we can do away with it, increase the 25 to choreography, or maybe even attendance.
We took
Because
it
the
exactly what you
GPA
recommended, Mr. Ramirez. We took it to all the sponsors and assistant principals, and they did not wanna change
But
it.
see, the concern that I have is for every single student that is participating in the organization. Because you can have Jane Doe that is in early college, and you have Maria Rodriguez that's a regular student. She scores a 90, and Jane Doe scores a 90. Is that the same? Is they gonna get the same score? I don't think so, because this one is in early college. Her grade is weighted more than this student right here. And that's the concern that I have. You know, if you're gonna have grades, for it to be fair, doesn't matter who it is, you start at the same level. You know, so how is that 25% is gonna be based on? Is it gonna be based if I have an A or I have a C?
On your GPA, on your grade.
So therefore, based on the grade, I already have a disadvantage.
Yes,
So
and,
I
and you
will
explained
never-
that to us on the committee meeting.
and
I
that-
understand it perfectly. I'm with you on that. But we have to respect the will of our organization
But-
too, our sponsors and our assistant principals and
I
administrators,
agree,
because
Ms.
they deal
Martinez.
with those kids every
But
day.
at the end of the day, where's the fairness? Where's the fairness for that student? You know, they can recommend, but at the end of the day, who has to say so?
But we
That's-
explain to
that's
them
the
since they're
concern, Ms.
freshmen, we tell them,
Martinez.
these are the
So
expectations.
we can
Apurale.
change
If you're
it,
not passing, you know.
Because I don't think that's right for Pobrecita Maria, that might have different situations going on than this student that has it okay. And you might have her that she still has to finish school, practice, go work at night, come back, and take care of a poor abuelita that's sick, and gives it all.
So,
And that person might be the best colonel or the best captain that the school has ever had in history.
And we have them.
And we have them. And that's why I'm taking time to address this issue. Because I want it to be fair. We have 10 people trying out for it to be fair for those 10 people. Choreography is a different. Of course, you might dance better than I do. You know, so, okay, no problem. But interview, I might be better than you. So, okay, balance it out. But GPA, that's where the fairness doesn't come into play.
so I would like to interrupt this so that we can close this argument, or not argument, but discussion. Well, an argument is a discussion. No, so one of the things that we do want to talk to you about is this, that the weighted classes are for everybody, whether you're at whether you at early college or any one of our high schools. So when we start taking that 25%, but I mean, I do agree with Ms. Martinez. If our sponsors who deal with these individuals, with students, with parents on a daily basis, this is what they are asking, just what Mr. Goyo just said. You know, do you ever have any complaints from an athlete or a band person? Like, no, this is the way it's gonna be, too bad, so sad.
But Dr. Rios, the thing is, we had many complaints throughout the years dealing with cheerleading and dance teams. We have had them over and over. When are we gonna put a stop to this? You know, because then at the end of the day, they follow the procedures, and at the end of the day, it goes to the full level. Who's gonna be making the decision? We are.
Well, that
You
is
know,
one of
and-
the
and
reasons
that's what-
why we're bringing this to you, sir, with all
Yes,
due
Ms. Dr.
respect.
Rios, but all due respect, Dr. Rios, this is not an argument. It's trying to make a point to be fair for every single person, because not a regular student doesn't get the same weight as a early college student. They
But
don't. You
let
know,
me
they
interrupt
get a
you right
regular
there.
grade,
But-
and
but
that's
look-
why you go when you have your valedictorian, and poor Juanito's in regular classes, he can never be valedictorian because those grades are weighted more than the others. So that's where I go with this.
Yes.
So we're gonna be having a student that you can say is the best choreographer this. You can have the 3 judges tell you, I would have picked her to be the captain, but unfortunately, because she doesn't have the grades like she does, that's where
Yes.
it shifted.
Mr. Ramirez, and let me go back to that. You have a mathematician next to you, so she can help you. But you can have a kid taking a regular course, give us his best, and he gets 100. And you can have an honors kid, making an 80 on the honors course, and they're gonna be even. An 80 on the honors course when it's weighted, but it's a more challenging course. If I make an 80 on a current enrollment, dual enrollment class, and I get 100 on a regular class, they come out even. So in a way, it balances on both sides.
Well, let's start, go ahead, because we're not gonna vote on this, so.
No, and then you already selected officers and all that, so
Well,
this will be until next
but
year.
just, let's, again, a lot of these things merit further discussion, and we can bring it back at committee and go over that over and over again. I mean,
No, all these
I'm with
recommendations,
I'm with
we have them
Doyle's
ready
recommend-
because he mentioned them in
Yeah,
committee,
no,
and
no
we
doubt,
listened to
no
his
doubt.
recommendations,
I
that's
think
why.
it just proved the fact that we don't need that damn handbook.
Okay,
But
I agree.
anyway, so, anyway, let's go to item number 15, please.
Okay, sorry. Thank you so much for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. Item number 15, discussion and presentation on Laredo ISD's instructional continuity plan. This is part of a requirement for all trustees and every single board meeting. Every single board meeting should be about instruction, and it should be about student performance outcomes. That is by, I think it's Senate Bill 1556. So just wanted to let you know that Dr. Cruz did review with you the latest accountability update. We will be getting our accountability rating sometime in September, correct? You know that our kids have already taken their exams. And this year it's very, very different because it is a different type of test, and accountability system is going into what you call now STAR 2.0. So you're going to be able to see, and Dr. Cruz will be bringing you some updates as to how every single school in the state of Texas is going to be rated, how those formulas are going to change, and what are the expectations not only for our students, but also for our staff and the supports that we provide. So I just wanted to remind you about that. We are going to get some what-if reports according to the state of Texas, and then we'll go from there. I know that in speaking to our principals, it is a very stressful time for not only principals, but for teachers, as well as everyone else. And that is why we do celebrate the work of our teachers. This is Teacher Appreciation Week, and we know how much work it is to be able to help our students succeed. I do want to remind you about the teacher incentive allotment update. This set of criteria and guidelines do not come from us. They come from the state of Texas. The amount of money that is issued to the teachers that qualify over 2 years, again, comes from a special rubric that is also provided to us by, what's the name? Is it the Texas State? Who's it? Texas Tech. And so they're the ones that evaluate where the teachers are in progress, as well based on the number of kids that they have in their classrooms. We are moving into now every single school in our district to allow teachers to become part of this. And at another time, Dr. Cruz is going to brief you on how teachers qualify. It's not something that's arbitrary that we're deciding tu sí, tu no. I'm being bilingual here, but you all need to applaud me for that. But it's really about what are some of the expectations that the state has put forward. The state wants to be able to provide incentives for our teachers so that we can get the best teachers in our classrooms for every single child as they deserve. I just want to remind you about graduation. We've got series of scholarship evenings, and I know that Mr. Ramirez was at last night at Mr. Mireles' ceremony. Thank you so much. Good job. I do want to remind you that graduation is going to be on September the 25th. It begins at 10 a.m. We do invite you. I'm sorry, did I say September?
One can only wish.
Ya me hicieron todos. Okay, now I'm going bilingual. It's May 25th. We start at 10 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been to Sames Arena during graduation, and you moms and dads here, Mr. Lopez, you have to be there early enough to be able to get through the parking. The very first graduation is at 10 a.m. and it is Cigarroa High School, followed by the next graduation. Takes 2 hours from 10 to 12. And then you're gonna go with Martin High School at 2 p.m. And then you're gonna go to Nixon High School at 6 p.m. Very proud of our schools because the procession of these children or students, I say children because of my age, but I will tell you, within 2 hours, you will see a whole graduation class and ceremony. We do ask you to be there early enough to be able to park. There is a hospitality room for all trustees. Do you have to attend all three? You do not have to. Just be aware that when the first ceremony ends, which will be around 12, people are gonna be rushing out, and if you're gonna be trying to come in, you're gonna have to put some time in there to be able to park and go into the next graduation. On the platform, you will only see school staff, cabinet, and yourselves on that platform, as well as valedictorian, salutatorian, and their parents. And of course, principal and assistant principals, counselor for that particular class. So we do invite you to make plans for graduation. I know that Jessica has been communicating with you. We are providing black collegiate gowns, well, not the hood, but just the black graduation gowns. I know that Dr. Dr. Gill is going to be, you see, I can't even talk anymore. Dr. Gill is going to be wearing his gown, I'm wearing mine, and our staff is wearing theirs. So it is a very beautiful ceremony. It's a culmination of a lot of years and supports that parents as well as abuelitos and everyone else has given to our students. So we do invite you to make plans for that.
Do we need approval and action on this?
No.
I just have a quick question. What accommodations do we make for people with physical disabilities at the arena? Do they have a special section?
There is special sections for guests for disabilities, and at the same time, there's also for our students. And last night at the scholarship night, you did see one of our kiddos that did receive some scholarships, and there's accommodations for them too.
Okay.
So please be aware of that. May I proceed to
Yes,
item number
please.
16?
Please.
Discussion and possible action to approve the recommendation or selection of the following bids, proposals, or qualifications. Purchases shall be made from appropriations in the adopted amended budget. 16.8, RFP number 22-027, installation of air purification devices, supplies, and related equipment or accessories in school buses. Estimated expenditures, $224,000. And we've talked about this at other years, months. 16B, renewal of the RFP number 21-015, electrical parts, supplies, equipment, plus related items and materials, an estimated expenditure of $100,000.
Do I hear a motion?
So move. Make a motion to approve item 16A, 16B.
Second on that? Second one. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Next item?
Mr. Garza, I would like to ask you to please table this item until we get more information from Laredo College and TAMIU. They are right now in the process of graduating their kiddos, so we need a little bit more time for that. It will be at a special call meeting, and this is in regards to the college prep courses and how we are going to articulate with Laredo College and TAMIU.
Do I hear a motion for that?
Make a motion to table item number 17.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Next.
Item number 18, discussion and possible action to approve the recommendation to hire the following professional positions. Possible closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, elementary school principals.
Do I hear a motion?
To go into closed session.
Make a motion to move into executive session.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is now 7:55, and we're going into executive session. is now 8:23. No voting took place. No action took place, I'm sorry, no action took place. We are back. I'm sorry?
I have to read it.
Okay, go ahead, yes.
Okay. Item number 18, discussion and possible action to approve the recommendation to hire the following professional positions. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to recommend Ms. Michelle Lopez for Bruni Elementary.
Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second?
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Next.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to recommend Ms. Yvonne Valdez for Tarver Elementary.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that on the superintendent's recommendation.
A second on that?
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Guys have it. Veronica, you're up.
Good evening once again. We have a few events coming up. Cigarroa High School has its senior prom tomorrow night at Paseo Real. Nixon has its senior prom Saturday at the Barn. We have the Bilingual Scholars of the Year Scholarship and Pinning Ceremony on Monday, May the 15th at 2 p.m. That'll be in the Nelson Conference Center. Garcia Early College has its scholarship night on Tuesday, May the 16th, that's at 6 p.m. Valdez High has its victory night here in the PAC Auditorium on Wednesday night, May 17th at 6:30. Nixon has its scholarship night also on Wednesday, May the 17th at 7 p.m. That will be in the Nixon Barton Gym. And Cigarroa has its scholarship night on Thursday, May 18th at 6:30 p.m. here in the PAC. Dr. Rios already told you about graduation ceremonies. If you need more details, please call us and we can help you with that. And that is all we
Wait,
have
you
for
will
tonight.
get parking permits?
Parking
You know,
passes.
the parking pass, so that way you can, there'll be spots for you.
Yes, we have our police department will put traffic cones on your reserved parking spaces by Gate D, which is where we have our meeting rooms where we will provide breakfast, lunch, and supper during our graduation day.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Dr. Rios?
I'm sorry, I do have a question. I'll confess, I might have spaced out. I'm so sorry. So if you already talked about this, Garcia Early College High School has I'm sorry.
Their graduation is the next day. We'll
next
have
day.
Martin Nixon Cigarro at the arena, and then
Okay.
the next day, Friday, we'll have Garcia Early College
In the
graduating here.
auditorium.
Okay, did you say that right now? I'm so
I
sorry.
didn't say
I'm
that,
sorry.
so, no.
Oh, no.
I
I'm sorry.
missed that one.
So do we go to that one too? the
Yes, you're
next day?
invited to all of them.
Okay.
And that one will be here in the auditorium, and that one starts at 11 a.m.
Okay,
No,
just because I
10.
taught a lot of those too.
No, it's 11.
She changed it?
No, it's always been 11.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we make it 2 o'clock? No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
They finish in 2 hours, you guys.
No, 90 minutes.
90 minutes is, yeah, it's
Well,
correct.
for them, yes.
Correct. Well, I know that we went overboard on the time here today, but we need to recognize that this week and this month we have to recognize our nurses, our police, and our teachers for appreciation. So congratulations, you all. We appreciate you every single day. We cannot do without you. And although this is, like I said, we ran time a little bit further than usual, but I also want to congratulate Mr. Morales for being here, but this is where you get to do it, Mr. Morales, just so you'll know. We have a tradition here that after the board meeting, we have a little section called Board Communication, so anybody that you'd like to thank or anything that you want to say, you have about a minute to do that. I know we caught you off guard, everybody.
Right. No,
Yeah.
it's okay. Well, first of all, thank you for hosting the swearing-in ceremony. I thought it was a very nice ceremony. A lot of people who came out, and just really, I'm really grateful for all my new colleagues to be here and have this opportunity and work towards, helping the kids. And I was really broken in with getting those discretionary funds, getting out, and also a very long meeting. Thank you, Juan. But I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Good job. Mr. Lopez? Huh? Yeah. Mr. Lopez?
Oh.
Just want to say thank you to everyone, and I apologize for exiting a couple of times during the meeting. My daughter was performing next door with VMT at Fuego tonight, so I didn't want to be in her doghouse, so I was getting the text saying she's next, and I'd run out and watch, and then came right back in. So my apologies, and as always, like I always say, thank you to everyone for all that you do. Looks like we're a work in progress, but we're getting better every day. We're good today, but we can be better tomorrow. Thank you.
There you go. Mr. Orduño?
Again, I would like to thank or wish a happy, I wrote them down because there's so many. Happy Principals Day, Happy Teacher Appreciation Week, Happy Mother's Day, Happy Nurses Day, Happy Police Officers Week. We have so many things to be thankful and grateful for. I also would like to welcome Rudy to our board, and hopefully, yeah, we are all complete now, so hopefully we can work for the betterment of our kiddos and our teachers. And then last but not least, I was invited and I sat next to Miss Maggie yesterday, and it's like, don't sit me together with Miss Maggie. Because we're trouble. But yesterday, Miss Campos and Miss Maggie hosted the mariachis for mom, and it was a beautiful event. And those moms looked beautiful with their Mexican attire, and it made me just want to go shop again. And I was like, no, I can't do that. But it was wonderful. So congratulations for what you do, because we always concentrate on our students, and then we concentrate on the teachers, and then definitely we need to concentrate on the parents. So thank you so much for what you did. I really, really enjoyed it.
Mr. Ramirez?
Okay, here goes another 30 more minutes. No, I'm just kidding. First of all, I want to wish all the mothers a very happy Mother's Day. Because let's be truthful, without the mothers, none of us would have been here. So thank you to all the mothers. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your sacrifice day in and day out, and for everything you do, and especially for being that role model to your sons and daughters. To all the teachers in our awesome LSD family, happy Teachers Appreciation Week. Thank you for everything you do day in and day out. And, you know, we're like to give you everything that we could in the world, but we're always going forward one day at a time. To all the Happy Principals Day, Assistant Principals, Nurses Week, Police Officers, Nurses, thank you for taking care of your children on our campuses day in and day out. You know, I had somebody very close to me that would always visit the nurse almost every single day, and thank you for everything. And to our officers and our security guards, thank you for putting your life on the line of duty. Thank you so much, because you know, one thing, when I used to be a probation officer, I remember telling my wife, I don't know if I'm gonna come back home. You know, that's the reality of your all's profession. So my hat off to you, gentlemen and ladies, our awesome police department. Thank you for everything you do. And I would like to take this time to thank everybody and that wished me a happy birthday. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And to the persons that were able to witness me singing on stage with the mariachi. And that was a surprise, but it was very fun. You know, so thank you for everyone, and it feels been an honor to be on this board and working together with my colleagues. You know, sometimes, yeah, we disagree on decisions, but at the end of the day, it's all good for our kids and our family. So in a few days, I know we're going to be at our commencement exercises, so that'll be something very memorable. And to everybody, thank you, and have a good night.
Yeah. Close. Dr. Gill?
Oh, and I also want to reiterate what everyone has said here. Happy Teachers Appreciation. They're not appreciated enough. So, I mean, and a week is not enough. So thank you very much. And also to our nurses. And, I mean, just the staff. I mean, sometimes we move past things and we forget. I remember being in line for our first COVID shot in those cars. It was the school district staff who was out there risking their lives, putting shots in our arms, you know, and every once in a while I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember you from this school. I remember, and sometimes we forget that happened because it's past us. But that I have not forgotten that, and I duly I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I had a chance to attend DDHR's Leads ceremony that our police department sponsored on Tuesday, and it was The whole staff at DDHR, I mean, they were just so great. And it was a really nice ceremony. And if any of my fellow board members want to catch the one tomorrow, it's at 1:30 at Don Gallego. I will go to that one as well. And finally, I want to thank Mr. Angel Ramos for a beautiful VMT medallion ceremony. I'm impressed with Mr. Ramos's leadership there at VMT and how he had all the students, in line, not in line, that's the wrong word, but like you could tell that they were inspired by his leadership, and the whole staff there was great. It was a beautiful ceremony. My colleagues attended as well. It was my first one, and I liked it. And one of the things I told the students was that I was jealous because I graduated right after they opened VMT, so I never really got a medallion. So if you see one on eBay, let me know. I'll get one. But thank you very much. It was two wonderful events that I attended, and I'm grateful. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll get on one, Dr. Rios.
So thank you all. I'd want to piggyback on everything everybody said. It was wonderful and beautiful. Happy Mother's Day, and the appreciation weeks and months are special for all of us, especially the nurses. My wife had an episode at Nixon last week, and they took care of her right away. So appreciate that very much. And listen, it's very difficult sometimes for me to just sit here and some people come in and bash our people, and they just don't know. They just don't know what we go through on a daily basis. They think everything is done underhanded, or it's not. It is just, people who are working hard, sometimes they make it look too easy. And I'll give you a perfect example. That golf course over there, tournament, thank you, Veronica, Sylvia, everybody that was on, Maggie, all of you put together, Jerry, thank you for being there. Everybody, Mr. Ambrose, everybody that was there, thank you all for being there. You don't know what big of a difference. There's some kids that this is going to be the catapult. That money that they're going to get as a scholarship, this might be the one that gets them to the top, to college, to get them going. That's SparkSat. We wanted to be a part of that. And I'll tell you why. I started this thing by myself, on my own, as a scholarship fund, and I can tell you, it is super hard to put that thing together. That's why I stopped it, and I said, no, I'm not going to do it by myself. Let's get everybody at the full force of LISD behind it. It's for them anyway, right? So I'm super happy that we're doing it this way. It's going to help, a bunch of wonderful kids out there. So just thank you for that. And the graduation ceremonies, I can't wait for my new colleagues to be a part of it. They're special. They are something that's going to motivate you, because that's the product that we're producing and bringing out to the new world. So I thank you very much for all the hard work that everybody puts together on a daily basis. And to Mr. Morales, welcome. We had a wonderful conversation before you got here, and look forward to working with you just as long, just like everybody else in here. The team of 8 is something to be taken seriously, and it's something that you're going to find that, as I told everybody when they started here, that this is a fun experience. It's not meant to be hard. It's supposed to be fun. And if we let everybody out in the audience do their job, and we're just here as a support system, we're going to do good. We're going to do real good. And the kids are going to be the beneficiaries of all of that. So I'd like to thank everybody. Dr. Rios, thank you so much for all the work you do. Mr. Perez for keeping us in line over here. And everybody else, thank you all. Happy Mother's Day, and have a wonderful rest of the month. Meeting adjourned. Do I hear a motion? A second? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Meeting adjourned.